Welcome back to another episode of Under the Floorboards. I'm joined with my co-host Steve McCaveney, and we have a phenomenal guest on this morning. You'd think he's 50 odd years of experience in property and in business with the things he's been doing, but still a relatively young age. But welcome to the podcast, Matt Morrison.
Thanks very much.
Well done.
I say all the time, it's just the sunbeds. I think people think I look a bit older than what I am. My hairline's on the way out as well. So maybe that's due to the property-related stress.
There's
Or
the
maybe
stress on that one. How old are you now? You're like
25.
25.
From 26 next month, which is good. So I've been doing this since.
Do you remember being 25?
I have got kids older than you, actually.
I've been doing it for over 5 years now, which is mental. So it'll be 6 years since I first took an interest in property in January, which is just insane.
So you've got the sourcing business, you've got letting business, your renovations, developments, your own projects, loads of stuff, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But
yeah,
roll back then. So like, was it like 18, 19 you started getting involved? Like, what was
So, like, see, up until fairly recently, I've never actually told the story fully because I was always, like, dead embarrassed and I didn't want to go through it and I didn't want people to think of me in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, I left school at 16 and I didn't really like school. You know, loads of people say that kind of stuff. But I left. My mates were all a year older than me. So, they'd left school and I was going into fifth year. And I'd done fifth year and then they were leaving, obviously sixth year going out, and I was like, I'm not staying here myself. Like, all my mates were a year older than me, so I was like, I need to get out of here. Like, so I was like applying for like all sorts of jobs, not getting them. Like Tesco knocked me back and stuff, and then I started applying for modern apprenticeships at the Scottish Government, and I got one. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. So at 16 I left school and I was making 17.5 grand a year. And you know, like when you first start working, you don't pay tax on the first 12 grand or whatever then. So I was like making, I don't know what it was like 1,400 quid a month. And I spent all of it on ASOS every single month. I still had to chip money off my mum to get my training and it worked. I couldn't drive at 16 obviously. And I bought like a big Michael Kors watch and like all gym gear and stuff like that.
Right, get it out.
I just loved it. And then I ended up I was there for 3.5 years and I got involved in a fight in a nightclub on New Year in 2019. And I ended up getting charged with an offence. And obviously at the Scottish Government, you can't have any convictions at all.
Yeah.
So like they do a sweep and all that, and if you get caught, so like I was on like bail and stuff like that, which sounds really dramatic, but it wasn't really. It was kind of blown out of proportion. I felt anyway. But anyway, so I had to leave that, and at similar time or just before that, I lost my dad. So I was going through like this bit of period where like everything was just like slapping me in the face, and then because I lost my dad and I lost my job, I found myself in a situation where I had like maybe 25, 30 grand in the bank, but with no job. And now, as I said, I was probably making maybe 22 grand a year at that point. So I had like a year's worth of money in the bank. And I was like, fucking hell. So initially, I remember I'm actually not going to say that, but I was getting in the shower in the morning at the time, right? I was getting in the shower in the morning and I got a text from my half-sister in London on my dad's side. She says, I'm really sorry, but you've just got some money in your account. I think it was maybe like 30 grand or something. And I came out the shower and I checked my phone, I checked my bank and I'm sure enough it was 30 grand catapulted in my account. Oh. And it was like euphoria. It was like a lottery. Wow. I'd never had more than 1,500 quid in my account ever. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then almost immediately after it was sheer panic. And it was like so much responsibility almost. Because like it felt like just a huge amount of money, which it kind of is.
At a young age, like you're saying, even in your wage you're getting, it's like ASOS and all that. And then so at a young age, getting 30 grand in your bank is like...
So
there isn't enough stuff in ASOS to buy 30 grand. I'll buy the shop.
But I remember you used to get points the more you spent, and because I was literally spending like £1 grand a month, I used to get all these points, and then I would go and get loads of clothes for free on the points, and then they stopped doing it. But so I had all this money, and then I was kind of scared. I don't want to waste it. So I remember I bought myself a pair of Valentino trainers, which for Harvey Nicks were 545 quid, and it was the same again. I was buzzing like, oh my God, these trainers, man. And then I remember I was getting the train home after, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, do you know what I mean? This is your dad's money. Like, it's from my dad's. That was from the sale of his house, and I got a bit more when we got his pensions further on. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, just wasting this money. So because I was going through this transition, like working in warehouses, and I'd done a bit of door-to-door sales and stuff like that, which I didn't really mind doing those jobs because I knew it wasn't forever. And I remember my mum saying to me when I got a job at Iceland warehouse in the freezer section, or was it Farm Foods? I can't remember. But anyway, it was in the freezer section. I remember my mum was like, what was it like in that? And it was agency work. And I was like, oh, it was all right. So I think I was making like £250 a week, and then I had to pay my fuel for my mum's house in Midlothian to Livingston and back. So that was probably at least 50 quid a week in fuel. And my mum goes, oh, but you know, if you stick it out and you do this and do that, you could be a warehouse manager. And I was like, fucking what have I done to my life?
What is going on?
I probably would have had a good career at the Scottish Government. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but it was a really stable career. And as I say, I didn't do that well at school, so it kind of saved me And then my mum says that, I was like, oh my God, this can't be what's happened to my life. Like, and then I kind of, because I had the money, I stumbled across, like, it was YouTube and stuff to watch, and I came across like property. And then I had this money and I went to a mortgage broker and I says, look, I've got 30 grand or whatever it is. I want to try and do buy to let, like rent them out and make a bit of money and do this and do that. And the mortgage broker just laughed at me because I was 19 or 20. I didn't have a proper job and like no income, nothing like that. So there was no way I could have got mortgages. And they were a wee bit more difficult back in 2020 than what they are now, I think. And obviously I was young as well, so you can only get like certain lenders. So I was like, oh my God, that's that. I'm not going to be able to do it.
Done.
And then I kept Googling, and then this thing called property sourcing came up. Yeah. And then I was like, well, you can make $3,000 for selling these deals on to other people. And from there, I just went out and I viewed, for probably 6 months, viewed properties on the market with estate agents. And I never made any offers because I was told for other agents, oh, the market's really good and this and that. And I definitely would have came across deals and would have got them if I put offers in. And then I done a wee bit of work with a guy, Joseph Tott, who's got like an SA management business now. Yep. But he was like the only guy in Scotland that was sourcing back then. Like there would have been other people, obviously, other companies and stuff. But in terms of like on social media,
he
was like the only guy that I could see because he'd done a course down south and then brought it up with him. So like I done a few deals with him and I asked him loads of questions and stuff, and then I just ran with it. And kind of stumbled on that, and I just thought like this is amazing. Like there's more money than
light bulb moment.
Totally like. Doing deals with somebody, I would bring the deal and he would have the investors because he had like a mailing list and like splitting the fees. Like sometimes it was like £1,000, 1,500 quid, probably no more than that. But it was like I was saying, I was making that for 40 hours a week, 4 weeks of the month at the government. So I was like, this is like complete light bulb moment. And I went mad and I bought a hot tub during COVID for my mum's house. I bought a Range Rover Evoque, a white one, which at the time I thought was fucking the bee's knees. Looking back now,
to go with your trainers,
it was like I know totally. It was like a hairdresser's car, people say, isn't it? And it was white with like a black roof and that. It was cringy. I bought a registration plate that says BOSSMMX, Boss MM, right? And people would have thought I was the boss of the hairdressers, right? And I never put it on any of my cars, so I was so embarrassed. But I was making money. I was just wasting it. I was going to Ibiza, Dubai, all these sorts of things during COVID when like nobody could go. And then I just kind of matured a little bit and then it's led to me into what now. But I always say to people like sourcing for me, and it's still to this day, is most of the activity we do is sourcing because it just feeds everything else. Like if you've got access to deals, you can sell them to clients, you put it on the market, a state agency that we've got, we can buy them ourselves, we can keep them, we can sell them, we can trade them, we can pass them on to other people and do a joint venture with them. But if you don't have the supply of deals that comes from the sourcing, there's nothing really there. And obviously that will feed the offshoot businesses, like you mentioned, the letting agency and the estate agency, and a couple other different things in that as well. So it's the kind of lifeblood of everything that I do. And although I'm maybe not quite as involved as what I was when I was viewing all these properties with estate agents, it's still the kind of fundamental thing that keeps everything else ticking. If that was to stop, then nothing else does anything. So and luckily it's what I enjoy and hopefully half decent at. And then as things went on, it's remarkable when you do like something 7 days a week, how quickly things can lead into bigger things. And like I always say to people now, like when I look back, it's like how have I ended up here for when it started, like viewing properties on the market, Rightmove, going on all these free webinars and all that these property coaches down south and stuff do. Like how have I ended up doing this? And it's just pure consistency, like never doing anything special, just volume and consistency.
I think that's the biggest thing as well when you're obviously, like you say, coming through quite young, you've got all these other things you can go and spend your money on. Totally. You could easily get distracted. Like, yeah, you went your holidays, you enjoyed yourself. Why not? You're still young.
Totally.
But you could easily just not put in that work 7 days a week, like you say. Like I know you are 7 days a week, even now, still doing the cracking hours. I think there was something that struck me when we first started speaking, and it was like somebody like messaged me, I'll get back within a couple of minutes, like instantly messaged me, I'm going to try this. It was pure late at night and I messaged him instantly back. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, he actually threw his word in. So, but that's still, it's just that determination.
It's like I think I've got some kind of OCD trait where I just can't sit with notifications. Like, and when someone comes in, most of the time they need something, you just message them back and then it's done, and you can move on to the next thing. Where I think stress comes from when you're like, when I come off this and my phone's missed calls and voicemails and emails and texts and WhatsApps and that, then I'll be quite stressed. I'm like, oh, how am I going to do all this?
To clear it all.
If you just tick away one at a time, it's pretty easy work. And obviously because of my age, I've not got like kids and stuff like that. So most of the time, if you message me at 9 o'clock at night, I'm thinking, oh, thank God, there's something to do. Do you know what I mean?
From the laptop anyway, probably.
I know, I'm quite happy.
I suppose it's a good reputation, because if you go the other way and you wait 3 days, then people go, I'm not going to bother messaging.
Not getting back to you anyway.
It's actually a positive. And so do you if you're not doing all the sourcing yourself, you have a team now, do you?
Yeah, so myself and Robbie kind of split it, so it just depends on where it comes from, but we're quite fortunate that we get deals from other people. So they'll usually do the legwork, and because we've been doing it a wee while, we've got quite a lot of clients there, so, and a couple of different avenues to monetize stuff as well, like with the estate agency and whatnot. So if people bring us stuff, that's kind of half the work done, and then it's our job to try and present it, and then obviously sell it to a client, and then make sure it goes through. So I'm not so much like I'll still go out to like off market ones, like through our advertising and stuff like that quite a lot, but not always. Like Robbie's up in Dundee today to look at one. So it just depends on the workload. But that's what I like doing. I like going out to meet with sellers and seeing how I can best help them.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I'm good at. But in terms of like the actual day to day dealing with other sourcers, packaging up deals, sending it out to the WhatsApp chat that we've got and stuff like that, it's not me as much anymore.
Robbie into it mostly.
Robbie's good at it, to be fair.
Yeah.
And obviously you're 16. Sorry, I just kind of gone off on a tangent here. I'm sorry. We do this all the time. We actually agree questions before it, and then I go, just want to ask them. Because you get a lot of people like 16, 17, not know what they're doing. Because actually, me personally, I think at that age you're too young to be deciding what you're going to be doing.
100%.
What is your inspiration? What are you telling people? What is your driver? I might have put you on the spot here, like that you're telling 16 and 17-year-old.
So see, the weirdest thing about me is you always get these people that say like, oh, I used to cut the grass, neighbour's grass, and wash cars and dead entrepreneurial and that. That just wasn't me at all. I just couldn't give a fuck about anything, really, honestly. When I was a young boy, I wanted to play football, wasn't good enough to play football, and then I was just coasting. So probably from like 17, 18, 19, 20, I was just out every weekend pretty much. My mates just having a decent time, and that was funded by my wage at the government, and that was it. Never had any money left. I always kind of thought that I would run my own business or wanted to, but I didn't really know anybody that ran their own business, like family or anything. So I was like, I think you can only run a business if you're like good at something. Like one of my mates' dads had a sign company, and I was like, well, how the fuck am I going to start a sign company? Do you know what I mean? So it was like, I just didn't know how to do that. My uncle's got like a trucking business, but he lives through here, and obviously I'm on the East Coast, so I didn't like have exposure to it, if you know what I mean. And it when I lost my dad, it had quite a big impact on me looking back. And then that coupled with losing my job at the same time, like my back was totally against the wall. So I was like, and at that time I just went through, and I don't really do as much as this anymore, but I used to do so much self-development stuff, like audiobooks and podcasts. I remember I read Duncan Bannatyne's book. Like I used to just do it. I don't really do it anymore because I don't know why. I just can't really get into it. Like sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook, but I don't enjoy it like what I used to when I was younger. But I read Duncan Bannatyne's book, and it said like, you know, quite a lot of people that started their own business had a criminal record, and I was like, well, I do have a criminal record now. I've found myself in this position, but it gave me like a bit of a lift because I was like, right, well, it's not just me, if you know what I mean. So
it's not a hindrance anymore to you. You need to shy away from it. It's
to be honest, and I forget a lot of this now because it was, as I say, 5 years ago. But when I left, I was having to leave the government. I was on bail for like 10, 11 months or something like that, and it was conditions and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't tell the government because then they would have sat me on the spot, and I wanted to try and have something lined up. Like so that I could walk into, so I wasn't like you know,
just play the game.
And also I didn't really know, looking back I was only 19, 20, I didn't really know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to get like charged with that or whatever. And so I went applied for a job at Housing Association in the Borders, and I applied for quite a few jobs around the same time and stuff like that, and I went to this one, and my name was in the paper a few times with the nightclub thing.
Oh Jesus.
And I was so paranoid that somebody had seen it because it was in the Borders, and obviously that's where it happened. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I got the impression for the woman that she had seen my name in the paper, or maybe somebody worked there had said something or whatever. So I basically I was so qualified to get the job with my experience at the government. So it was like an admin job. I never even got heard back. And after that, I was like, I have no chance. I'm either going to be working in warehouses or I'm going to have to do something myself. And it was almost like that was like a pure light bulb moment, like a sort of life totally changed. So if that never happened, if I never lost my dad and lost my job, or if I say I had lost my dad, because obviously you can't really prevent that, but if I never lost my job, I reckon I'd probably still be working at the government. I would have used my dad's money to buy myself a house. I'd have quite a big mortgage. I'd have a no bad car on finance, and that would be it. I would probably get to a decent high level in the government job, like maybe 50, 60, 70, 80 grand or whatever. And then that would be me. In life, that would be my slot. But because that happened, circumstances changed. I had to do it my own way.
And where was it, Edinburgh or Dalkeith or something you grew up? Where was it you grew up?
My mum stays just outside sort of Gore Bridge in Midlothian, so it's in the catchment for the Borders schools, but it's technically kind of Midlothian. It's like right on the cusp. It's like a wee village.
Would you ever think? Sorry, again the tangent. Would you ever think about going to schools and stuff like that and talking to people? Because
I've done quite a lot, to be honest. So The high school reached out to me a wee while ago and they asked if I would come in and do a talk, and I says I would, and then they've never came back to me. But I'm quite keen to do stuff like that because, like I said, I didn't have a clue what I was going to do at school. Like, I remember my mum, she went to uni and done a journalism degree, and I was like quite all right at English. That's like one of the only hires that I've got, and I was like, I quite fancy being a journalist and that. And then I was like,
no, not really.
I'll work that.
I know, and like I don't know. That's because it's what my mum had done, and my dad was the same actually. To be fair, so I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And then like 10 minutes later, I was like, I'm definitely not doing that. So I didn't have a clue what I was going to do at all. I remember like when I was like 15, 16, I was doing labouring with my friend's dad, and I didn't really like that either. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because from when I was a boy, I always wanted to be a footballer. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like everybody really.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly realise, right, well, you're not going to be a footballer. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'm not going to be successful and all these kind of good things that come with it. And then you just kind of find your own path, don't you?
Seeing the early days of doing like your kind of sourcing deals, like what was the... Can't everybody come to... But it's a course you do because there's loads of them these days, or YouTubes and everything else, but you come out thinking... like you're going to get a deal landed on you, but seeing the kind of early days, what was the kind of biggest mistake you think you were making that you've kind of learned from now? Like if you're going back to Matt then, going, you're an absolute idiot, like you say, not putting in offers and stuff like that. Like
that would probably be the biggest one. If I'd put offers on most of the stuff I went to see, I would have done a couple of deals earlier, and then that would have probably springed me on earlier. The other thing that I never done, which I sometimes think about, is that I never done a course. And I think I sometimes wear like a badge on or in my sleeve, but it doesn't really matter at all, does it? But I think I was going to do the same course that I think you guys both did. And then I just never done it. And I was getting a little bit of kind of informal mentoring by a guy that I was working with at the time. And he's like, don't bother, don't waste your money, don't do it. So I never done it. But I think if I did do it, I would probably have been further on sooner because I was finding my own way, done the rent to SA stuff. And then I met David, and then he was telling me about all these ads that he was running and all that. I was like, that's quite good. And then just kind of done similar to what he done, and that kind of gave me a big kickstart, if you know what I mean. Whereas if I had done the course a year prior, I would have learned all the stuff he knew, and I probably would have started it then as well. But it just never worked out that way. So I think, although I don't have any bias at all in the situation, but I probably would do some kind of training, I think, and then make offers on pretty much everything you go out to see because you've already put the work in. I was worried because I was mainly doing stuff in the borders and I didn't want to offend the agents. Some of them I knew quite well and the market was... I was just talking myself out of it basically. But there was definitely at least a handful that probably could have went somewhere if I knew what I know now.
I think that's the thing with courses as well. Like people think it's just you go on it and that's like you spend your money and you don't get anywhere with it, but it's kind of like learning from somebody else's mistakes and like you can catapult the learning from it, but also you've went through the actual learning himself, the doing of it, and that's obviously been a bit of a slog to get there. And then also you've taken off in that sense, but like you say, if you went back and done some form of training to give you consolidated information, actually go and do this, put in your offers, whether it be...
It's dead weird though, because I almost, the flip side of it, you're never going to know, are you? But the flip side, I done a Forex training course in London, and I went down there when I think I was 19 when I got my dad's money. I was like, right, I'm going to be a Forex trader like the same time I was doing property, and it was a classroom environment and there were slides on the board and that, and I came back, I couldn't do it. But because it was like in my own hands with the property stuff, I was watching all these YouTube videos and I was doing free online courses and I was reading books and podcasts. It's like I'd done it my own way, if you know what I mean. But I remember, like, I think about this all the time, like, remember like when you first find out you could refinance a property and you can pull 75% equity out of it? I couldn't get my head around that at all for ages. I kept watching these videos and that, and to be fair, I don't know why this happened to me, but I used to like have post-it notes and I would do like topics that I wanted to learn about that week and all that, like as like a 19, 20-year-old kid. Like, I would never do that now, and I don't know why I done that, because I was never like that about school or anything else. It's like because I had to, I did.
You're a keen learner. I think it's different with school is you're forced to learn something there, but you actually enjoy, because you make money from it as well.
But at that time, I didn't make any money from it, and I didn't even know, like, until I done my first deal, I was like, well, this is like, you didn't really know it exists, if you know what I mean. Or like it's realistic or whatever word you want to say, but I just couldn't get my head around that at all. How I just couldn't understand like all the mechanics of it. How could you do that, and it just didn't make sense to me. So it took me ages to learn that. And I don't know, that's just...
But I suppose when you physically get tangible money, right, and you hand it to you and you go, that post-it for a month ago, I went on YouTube, I got $3,000 out of it. Yeah. I need to get more of these post-it notes. And just go back to the course. I think the courses are easier. I think how many people do you know in the courses that you go on and they just do nothing after it? But if you're doing it yourself, I think you're probably more committed
Yeah.
Because you're the only driver on it.
Yeah.
But like I used to get up at my mum's house and like take the dog a walk early and sit with like a coffee on the laptop and just learn about property like pretty much all day, but like in between jobs and all that. So like it was almost like I was going to my work, but I was sitting in my mum's spare bedroom like no making any money. I was just like watching videos and that. It was weird. But like I used to just watch, and this is probably big advice that I would give anybody, is I just used to watch anything about property, like podcasts, audiobooks, anything that I could. I always said like in my head, if I could learn one thing from it, it would be worth it. And like I used to watch like podcasts about like HMO conversions down south and that. Now that's not relevant to what we do up here at all.
Just what you're feeding yourself, rather than doing your lunch break and watching a Netflix, TikTok, or whatever. You might not be fully taking it in, but subconsciously you're listening to that. And that's
but you only need one thing.
If you learn one thing, and that's what I've done my whole life in terms of going out and meeting somebody, maybe you can't be arsed that day, you never think it's going to come in, and you don't really know this person.
Yeah.
But then if you can learn one thing from them, or you get one thing from it, usually it does seem to be worth it. But like the HMO conversion thing is weird because I've never used that at all. But see, if I was speaking to someone, I would just relay the information that I learned in this YouTube video. Like it's like peacocking almost, isn't it? You know, peacocks like talk to each other with feathers and that, and like they say something, you say something back. It's like tennis, like try to work out who doesn't know anything about what they're talking about, basically. But that's just what I've done, and that would be my biggest advice: just completely immerse yourself in it. And the other thing that's been really good for me is because of my circumstances back then, I just didn't have a choice. I couldn't have got another good stable career job because of what happened at that time anyway. And I wasn't going to work in a warehouse all my life, so it was that or nothing. So I almost just convinced myself that I was this property guy and that was going to be me, and I just never looked back.
It's handy, isn't it? Because you're in a corner and you're like, like if you've got multiple choices, then you're not going to do any of them.
I know. Right? It's weird because if you could have given me a pen and paper when I was 19, 20 going through that, watching these YouTube videos, and say, could you write your property journey in the next 5 years? I don't think I could write it better than what's actually happened. Like within reason, do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't change anything at all, regardless of how many ups and downs and bad stuff and that. I wouldn't change it at all. And it's just it's mad how things can work out if you're just dedicated and committed to stuff. Like it's quite amazing what can happen if you just give everything your all, commit to it.
Love it.
Do you do what do you said you don't listen as much now, or what was the last course you went on?
So me and David done a course last month in London, and it was the content was really good, but it was probably a bit high level for us. Like the guys that were doing it were really, really clever guys, like economist type, ex sort of banker type stuff, and it was all like very, very high level stuff. I don't think it was that great for people like me and David who are maybe not so much book smart, but we've done that. But other than that, to be honest, I've not really done any other courses except like online stuff. But like I just used to like listen to podcasts and audiobooks and stuff all the time when I'm in the car. And then now, like I turn one on, I just can't be bothered with it, and I just put my music on. I don't know. It's been like that for probably about a year, I would say. I just can't, like a lot of it's kind of like American-y stuff. I just can't get into it.
I used to want. Have you ever seen that film Limitless?
Yeah. Aye.
I want that.
yeah.
I think everybody does, right?
Actually, it's a good film.
I'm like that. Can I please get one of these tablets every day, and then I can just listen to everything, and then that'll be it. 2 years.
Use your brain more. I was going to say, like you started holding stuff as well recently, didn't you?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just trading it on. Like, what was the pivoting point for that? Like, why now do that?
I don't regret it, to be honest, but I was just on, as I said, another podcast before I came in here, and I went into quite a lot of detail. Like, I think too many people rush in to try and keep a hold of stuff, and like if you listen to a lot of clever people, they say like you should really make the money first, like active income. And then when you've got surplus active income, like lots of money in the bank, you should then invest it and try and get passive income. And I think I probably jumped a little bit too early. Not saying that I didn't have any money, but like I've got 5, I think now, and I bought my own house in August as well. So between that 5 and my own house, I've probably tied up about 100 grand in cash.
Yeah.
Plus I've got a big tax bill in January for taking the money out of the company to buy my house for the income and whatnot, right? So I've probably out for nearly 150 grand, right? And the money that, obviously my own house doesn't make me anything, but the other ones will probably make me about 20 grand a year, 18 to 20 grand a year. Now, I might do one as an essay, so that might change. I might get a little bit more. So the flat's probably left about 40 grand in them, and it's going to make me, say 20 on the top end, right? And that's if there's no maintenance or boilers or no tenants paid, right,
wrong,
over the next year. Whereas that 40 grand, I probably could have made another 40 grand at least this year just by buying and selling stuff, at least. By one flip you make 40-50 grand, you know, something like that, or a couple of little trades or whatever. So the return on investments went for like 50% on a best case scenario to 100% upwards. So I'm happy that I've done it, and I've got a little bit of a base now. And what I kind of wanted was those 5 properties that I've got will pay my mortgage if something was to happen in my own house. So I'm not going to be homeless, which I quite liked.
What was handy that, I think.
I know, but like I was saying before, like, so I bought a few of them cash, and I was refinancing them, and it takes longer than what I thought, and I got down valued on one of them, and one of them had a bit of rot, and so I put 60 grand into one of them. This is my worst one that I've done, right? So it's maybe not the best example, but it just highlights it. So I was about 60 grand into it, I couldn't purchase and refurb, and I refinanced. I left about 10 grand in roughly. So, and then I got down valued. So I thought I was going to make like 300 and something cash flow, and I'm now making 180. Oh. So I was desperate on the money coming back from the refinances to go and buy other stuff or do whatever I was doing with it, right? And I was praying that I got the money back. And when you think about it, my light at the end of the tunnel was losing 10 grand and making £180 a month. That's what I was wanting the money back for, if that makes sense. Whereas I'm doing a flip deal just now that completes in a couple of weeks' time, and it'll be similar, it'll be quite a lot of money into it. But when I get the money back, my light at the end of the tunnel will be 50 grand profit, right? So instead of losing, I know I've got the asset, but it's like a pretty shitty flat, right? So my light at the end of the tunnel was 50 grand profit. And that, to me, and my lifestyle and where I'm at and my age and stuff like that, suits me better. So over the next 12 months, I'm just going to focus on buying and selling stuff again, build the cash pot right up, and then just try and snowball it. And then I've got a joint venture company where we're going to buy, we've got 3 in that just now, and we're buying a block. So there'll be 15 or 16 in that company. And we'll continue with that, essays and portfolios in the joint venture company. So I'm still getting the benefit of holding stuff, but with my own physical cash, I'm not really that bothered about keeping a hold of any. I just want to buy and sell.
What about the letting and the estate agency as well?
It's good, yeah. So like like I said, the sourcing kind of feeds everything. So my plan for the next 12 months is obviously buy and sell myself with my own money, as I mentioned, portfolios and essays predominantly in the joint venture company, because there's 2 of us, it's kind of got to be worth it. And then just grow the respective agencies. So the agencies grow if I do my job and I find new clients and we find them opportunities, and then we'll get a fee from the sourcing, or it might be the estate agency, and then we'll feed the letting agency as well, which is building quite a nice portfolio there as well. So just focusing on doing what I'm good at, and then buying and selling myself, and buying and keeping in the joint venture company. That's the plan.
You've got that kind of one-stop shop now, haven't you? Like, you've got everything with the, like you said, social media comes from you directly, your ads, other people bring you deals through your network. Yeah. Then I can go either feed your agency, feed you and your client, feed you and your JV partner, or actually you've got a lettings business in covering whatever. We had Willie Dodd in the podcast as well for CS Lettings as well. So he's, he heads a lot of that, doesn't he?
He came across quite intelligent, Willie, actually, on the podcast.
It's quite deceiving, isn't it?
He brought the camera in the first episode.
I think the first time, I just want to say, first time I think I heard you talk, I actually had to go and sit in a dark room after it, because you were like going, because everybody goes 3 grand sourcing. Yeah. Every single person. And then you're like, and then I got a fee for this. And then I got a fee for this. And then I got, and I'll be honest, like you said, where you're reinvesting, you're like, I can't quite understand this.
Yeah.
When you were explaining it, I swear to God, I listened to it 3 times, and I was like, I have to write it all down again, because I was like, this is like a different light to me. It was, because at one point I think you were making more money out of that than sourcing.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal industry we're in, where there's so much money involved that you can make really considerably good money from doing one thing. So as you mentioned, like a kind of typical sourcing deal for us, at the moment we've got an onboarding fee to become a one-to-one client. So we'll take a fee off you, we'll get you set up on the system, we'll do the anti-money laundering checks, and then we'll work for you. We've already assessed your criteria. If you come on, it's £1,000 plus VAT. It's a one-off fee. It doesn't not anything to do with the sourcing fee. It's just to become a client, and that gets you into our sort of ecosystem, if you like. And then we'll find you a deal. It'll suit your criteria. It'll be pretty much what you're looking for. It'll access to the best deals first. We'll charge you a fee for that, and then we'll usually charge some form of project management fee as well. So we'll get obviously the onboarding fee, sourcing fee, some form of project management fee, or we'll get a little bit of a referral fee from the trades, whatever, just for the time involved if we've not charged something up front. And then we work with sort of different people as well. Sometimes we'll get a little bit of a kickback from a broker or something like that. And then obviously we've got the letting agency now as well. So the whole kind of client life cycle, we are eating and we're making money from.
You're involved in every section.
Exactly, but also we're doing a really good service for the client, and they're paying for that. So we get inundated with people wanting to become a client, but they're just probably not a right fit. So the people that we do say that we want to work with, they're coming on and they've got access to me 24/7, as you mentioned. My phone's always on.
Yeah.
So like if there's any issues with refinancing it or with this or with that, they'll just come to me and I'll sort it for them. So that's what they're paying really. And then obviously the project management will do everything for them. A lot of the clients are non-local, so they're like London in the south, or they're abroad, or some of them are from here, but they're busy with other businesses and jobs. And they'll get a really good level of service throughout that process. And then it's the same with the lettings. They'll get a good quality service. We don't charge them £1 million. We don't take huge markups on the management and stuff like that. So although our fees are expensive, usually the deal quality is good enough.
Yep.
So like if we're charging someone 4 or 5 grand, which can be quite standard at the moment, they're probably getting 15, 20, 25, 30 grand off the purchase price at least, depending on where it is. So it's always factored into the deal. And we're basically, I always say this to Robbie, and when I was obviously part of the network that you guys were in, is we get paid by the strength of the deal. If the deal was the best deal ever, we charge one of a good clients 15 grand just as a standard sourcing fee, but we're doing the project management for them as well actually, but sourcing fee just for one flat in Edinburgh, one single flat. But it was an amazing deal, and I was going to buy it myself, and then the investor pulled out, so I couldn't buy it. So I was like, look, if you want it, you can have it, but I need a really good fee because I can get the fee from someone else, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the quality of the deal and the service. So there's a lot of sourcers that will run about, and I've been there myself, where you're making £1,000 or £1,500. I mean, we still do some deals now. We done one not that long ago, I made 750 quid on. But it's 750 quid I didn't have the day before, so like I'll take anything.
That'll feed something better to your marketing or whatever.
Exactly,
Do you know what I
and
mean?
it's an office or it's utilities or it's money I didn't have, and if there's only one person that will buy it, then take whatever. Do you know what I mean? Give me 20 quid for fuel in my car, I'll take it if I can't get rid of it. And that's why. So people have said to me before, like, your fees are quite expensive. We've done another 10 grand sourcing fee in Edinburgh last month, but it was worth 875 and we got it for 575. It's 300 grand. So I was raging at 10 grand because it's 300,000, and the home report's maybe a little bit high in justification, but really good area, 300 grand off, and we've made 10 plus the VAT, which I think's pretty reasonable.
That's a lower rate than your 750. Like percentage wise.
That's what I mean, and that's why I was raging about it. But so I always say to people, it's a bit of a laugh, but I want to charge people as much as possible because I'm running a business here, but I can only charge you as much as possible if I do my job properly and I get you the best possible price for the property.
I think people sometimes look at like, oh my God, I can't believe you paid a 15k fee for that bit.
No.
You're looking at it wrong. You're looking at what it's costing you, not what it's getting you or making you. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, oh, you paid 15k sourcing fee.
Now, there's a flip side of that where people will send me deals and it's like the home report's 80 and they've secured it for 77 and they want a 3 grand plus VAT fee on it, where you're paying £600 more than what the property's worth. That just doesn't wash. You can't charge £1 million if you don't get a good price. But if you were to get that for 50, you could make 15 or 20 grand on it quite easily because you've done it. You've done your job negotiating the price so well. And I think that's where people sometimes get tripped up. Is it sounds good to make these good fees. Like some people send me through stuff like, oh, I want 5 grand for this, or no disrespect to anybody as well, but there's an auction fee on this one as well. But you look at it and you think, the person's paying 10 grand here. They're only getting 10 grand a discount. You're paying their ADS, they're paying the legals, they're paying this. You've got to factor it all in. And yeah, as I say, it's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's worth on it.
Yeah.
So see being so active constantly, you're just so available on your phone. You also got a life of your own to do. You've got 3-4 businesses, probably more.
Yeah.
Is there a point where you've like had any sort of kind of burnout? You've like, fuck, I'm going too fast here and had to step back in.
It's really interesting. See those times I was talking about when I was at my mum's house and I was like on the laptop learning and trying to get involved. I used to get burned out, or what I felt was burnout, loads then. And I think it actually came for me because I wasn't really doing anything. Whereas when you're actually, this is like my whole life now. This is just, and it's been like that for the last, like consistently for at least like 3 or 4 years, I would say. So I don't really get burnt out anymore. I like a couple of holidays a year. We'll take good holidays and it's good, and we'll maybe do a weekend away or something like that and try and forget. But like I said to you before, like if I went to Trump Turnberry a couple of weekends ago there with my missus, and we're sitting on the Sunday, or was it Saturday? I think it was a Saturday at the pool at like the spa bit.
Oh yeah.
And I was on ChatGPT trying to work out where the sources of all my deals came from. So I've got like a spreadsheet with all the deals that I've done and where they've came from and who bought them and where they came from. So I was working out what percentage comes from LinkedIn, what comes from Instagram, what comes from advertising, all that kind of stuff. Like I just get bored if I'm not doing it. But like we kind of spoke briefly before about the health thing that I had going on last year, and that was like where I felt like everything caught up with me almost, like just try to do too much. And and I've said this on a few different things, but where it all started, I was in the office. Obviously, I just had property coaching network with David up until sort of earlier in the year, and we had one of the Zoom calls at 7:45 at night. A really busy week. I had a lot on. I had a meeting with the builder at like 6 o'clock in my office after a full day's work, and then David and I were doing some mentoring stuff at the time. And I think we had a Zoom call with one of the guys at 7, and then we had the proper call at 7:45. So I probably started my working day at 6:30 that day. So you're probably, I don't know, what's that, 14 hours or something? Sometimes the calls would go on to 9. So I was really busy, and when the builder left, I was like, I'm going to get a Chinese for my dinner just to quickly feed, and then I'll do these Zoom calls. And I couldn't get more than like 30, 40 yards in front of my office. Like I felt so weak and like I was going to pass out, and like it was just like I was going to drop. And it was like sheer anxiety. I texted David, I was like, look, I'm really sorry, mate, I'm going to have to like go home or something like that. And I never done the Zoom calls. And then from there, like every week, sometimes a couple of times a week, I would get really dizzy, like in really intense flashes. And it would be like I was going to pass out. Like not dizzy like the room was spinning, but like lightheaded, like I was going to pass out. So I went to the doctors about it, and went to the NHS, and the guy thought it was a thing called labyrinthitis, which is like the balance in your inner ear, like can affect your movement and your dizziness. So he gave me these pills to take. So I was taking 3 pills a day, morning, noon and night for 6 months. And the guy says, like, it'll probably take 2 or 3 months and it'll shift and the fluid will go. And they gave me exercises and that to do. And I was like, so I was doing them, was taking these pills. It wasn't getting any better. So I phoned the doctor. I said, look, I really need to go to the hospital or something here. I was in A&E a couple of times as well, actually, because it was that bad, like really, really bad. And like it was affecting my work. I couldn't do things. I didn't want to do this when I was out in public. I felt like it was going to happen. I was dead nervous about it.
Get anxious about it.
And that's what made it worse, was the anxiety around it happening, probably worse than what it actually was. So I didn't know what it was, and the NHS said it was going to be another 6 months. So I'm already 6 months into this at this point. It said it's going to be another 6 months before we can see you at the hospital. And I was taking these pills, and I was like, no, I'm going to have to do something. So I went private, and within 5 minutes of sitting like this across the table for the guy, I was like, no, it's definitely not that. And I was like, I've just been taking these pills 3 times a day.
ME?
Thinking it was thinking it was this labyrinthitis, and the guy says, look, it's definitely not that.
The misdiagnosis was massive.
In 6 months, that's what I thought in my head it was, and I'm thinking, oh, it's probably going to shift soon. It's this thing in my ear. I'm taking these pills, and he says, no, it's definitely not that. And I says, what about these pills that I'm taking? He says, it's probably a placebo effect. And I was like, what? So at that point, it was worse, because I was thinking, well, if it's not that, then what the fuck is it? And the guy says, look, there's a chance, a slim chance, it might be a brain tumour. So I've just been falling off my seat, right? And that was a Thursday night as well, so I missed the Zoom call that night too, right? And I was texting David, I'm really sorry, mate. It felt like
Dave was cursing you.
I know.
Trying to make the Zoom call. I've lost my Chinese again.
He's probably thinking that I'm at it. So because of that, I spent about 2.5, 3 grand on private healthcare tests. So I got an MRI scan on my brain. Thankfully, it came back totally fine.
Good.
I got a heart scan, I got an ECG, I got a 24-hour heart tape, I got blood done, I got everything you can imagine. And they all came back like more or less all right.
Yeah.
And I sat down with the guy. He says, look, I think you're just doing too much. It's stress. And it was weird. Like I was saying this to David before, like almost when he told me I was all right and we sat down and we looked at all my results and they were all normal, just sort of lifted.
Aye, a release.
And gradually over the next couple of months, I just kind of felt better. And then I've probably been better since probably March, April time this year. But it was like a proper almost 12 months.
But it's like a warning sign, isn't it?
I think so. But it was weird, like I would go into meetings and every time I was doing a meeting about certain things, it would flare up and I would literally have to walk out of the meeting and say, look, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to leave here. Like just, we were talking like this, I just got up and left. And it was just such a crazy time. But like I don't really even get the flu. Like I've never broke a bone, I've never been in hospital. And then all of a sudden it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And there was like days I was in bed and like it was crazy. But thankfully I'm better now and I've kind of scaled back a wee bit, and obviously I'm left the property coaching network, as you probably know, and that's kind of one plate that I'm no longer spinning, if that makes sense. And actually as a result of that, we've probably done more deals in terms of my own stuff and client stuff, just because the time element of it. Like if you're not spending time on one thing, you just move and do it on something else.
But especially if you're like saying, right, I'm going to get back to you every minute. I know, by the way, David, I'm right on top of you. I'm here on this, I'm on this. Because I thought you were going to talk about ME there for a minute.
No,
that's what it sounds like.
I got a heart scan, and the heart scan said that I had a small leak in one of the vents or something in my heart. But the guy seemed to think it wouldn't cause me any issues till like I'm in my 50s, and he says it's not that's causing it. But that's something to keep an eye on. So I've got to go back in a year's time, or a couple of months' time actually, to make sure it's all right. But that was it. Other than that, I was totally fine. No low blood pressure, no diabetes, no nothing. the scariest part of the whole thing is they didn't know what it was.
Aye, it's unknown, isn't it? Like something's wrong with me. I just don't know what it is. Nobody else knows what it is.
And I knew really, like, there was really something wrong with me. Like, it was really horrible, dizzy, lightheadedness, like feeling like I was going to faint. So I knew I wasn't all right, and that's what made it worse. I was like, this seems pretty bad. And then sure enough, it was actually all right in the end.
And so what do you do? Diet, more exercise, less stressy work?
He didn't really give me anything, to be
honest. Stressy work.
It was weird. I just kind of gradually got better. He just was looking to take it a bit easier, and that was it. And then it's just, as I say, it wasn't like I just all of a sudden got better. It was kind of just gradually. And then, as I say, since probably April time or something like that, I've been back to proper normality. But like, I couldn't go to the gym, and when I was dizzy, I felt like if I ate something, it would make me better, like like sugar or whatever. So I was eating loads of shit, and I was not doing any exercise because I felt terrible. Like, I remember, like, the doctor told me to go out and do walks and that to shift this balance in my ear, and I was like terrified to go out the door to walk in case I got dizzy. It was mental.
Did a Mars bar weed just in case?
I know. I was saying that. So remember, were you the guys there when we done that property coaching 2-day event where there was loads of people there? A 1-day event, sorry, there was loads of people there at the village. Yeah. It was just me and David presenting, and there was like 130 people there. And I was sitting at the front scanning Mars bars and bananas and all that to try and make myself feel better, right? So I put on a wee bit of weight because of it. But as I say, it's a chapter in my life. I'm very glad that it's over because for a period it just felt like it was never going to end.
No, it's good to see you get back at the other end of it, but nice and strong as well. So, like I say, it is that fear of unknown. And once you gradually know, right, I'm not dying as such.
Weird. So one of my mates has got a solar company, and he had kind of similar like a few years ago. And he says, like, the thing with stress is you don't notice that you're stressed. Like, throughout that whole period before it and after it, whatever, I don't ever feel stressed. But apparently, like, your body is actually under stress. You just don't notice it. And he said, like, he had a kind of similar thing where twice he's came back. He's got, like, quite a big company and stuff. And he couldn't get upstairs in his house. He just wasn't physically able to walk up the stairs in his own house. He had to get ambulance and stuff like that, just all of a sudden out of the blue. So it's just that.
There's a wee warning thing you probably just ignore. I remember reading something like eye twitches and stuff, like just like your body's under that much stress or it's like over caffeinated and all that kind of stuff. Like your body's telling you, like, slow down, stop it, stop feeding me this, stop drinking this, whatever, and you don't listen to it.
See,
it's not until you get a big scare.
One thing that I have definitely done is less caffeine from it. I used to have, I don't know, 2 or 3 coffees, maybe like a Monster or something a day, just depending on what I was doing. I was totally fine. Like, if I had a big task to do, I would have something that would get me through. But now I probably have one, and then that's me. I've just avoided it because I just felt like it was like my heart and everything was worse.
Yeah.
Heart palpitations. I hate that with Monster, by the way. I used to get it.
I know, it's scary as well, isn't it?
I've calmed down. Like, my missus will tell me I've not calmed down, but I have calmed down on them. I don't get it as often. Maybe do it the weekends as a treat. I don't know why I can of Monsters as a treat, but do you know what I mean? Like, just that kind of.
I really enjoy them, but I just couldn't keep up with the way that I was going. I think I was just doing too much, and then since I've scaled it back, I've been a wee bit more relaxed, take a little bit of time, like to go to like Trump and stuff like that, nice places, and then just take it a bit easier.
So see, had a wee chat, I think it was before we started, about automations and systems and everything else. Like, see, did you have anything in the early days compared to what you have now? Like, how's that kind of evolved?
Yeah.
Or do you even use? I know people just do WhatsApp and just fire out deals.
Yeah,
so.
like I don't think we do a huge amount of automation, to be honest, but I don't always think it's necessary a lot of the time with the work that we do. Now, some stuff definitely is, but like we don't really use an awful lot of it. So we'll manually make the Word document deal pack, and then we'll manually convert it to a PDF and then send it out, and we'll manually type the details into WhatsApp and stuff like that. And like the estate agency, Judith will manually send the home reports and stuff like that out. So we could do more of it, but I just think it's not broken, so why fix it? And I think when you start tinkering around and you lose a bit of control, and it's also quite expensive. I'm quite tight when it comes to business costs. And like even the CRM we use, that no CRM, it's like dead basic, but it's perfect for us. It's really good. The lead comes into it, you can phone them, you can text them, you can email them, you can leave notes, you can remind yourself, and there's a wee iPhone app that's dead handy, and it's brilliant, and it's like 20 quid a month or 30 quid a month or something like that. It's like, that's for the advertising point of view is good, but we could do a lot more, and I know Willie's looking into it in the lettings, because I think there's probably an opportunity in lettings where a lot of the old school letting agents have got hundreds of staff, they're all sitting there doing nothing. You know, they're not particularly good at their job, they don't like being there, so we're trying to go down a different route where there's more automation, there's maybe more virtual assistants, because a lot of the work with lettings, a lot of the work in property, to be honest, is more kind of admin-y stuff, isn't it? So a virtual assistant who are really qualified can do that no bother, so you don't have to be paying someone, you know, $2,000 a month plus PAYE plus their pension contributions and give them holidays and sick leave and all that kind of stuff here in the UK when you could be paying someone 500 quid in the Philippines that's equally as qualified.
£5 an hour, right?
£5 an hour. And it sounds horrible, but they don't have the same staff kind of rights of stuff. Like, you're not tied in as much as you are here, which I quite like as well. So I've only got 2 staff, and then obviously Willie and the lettings, and I don't really want any more at the moment, if that makes sense, because it's just constant costs all the time, not just for the staff, but just in terms of everything. Like, every single month is some kind of big bill to pay, like whether it's VAT or it's PAYE or it's a corp tax bill or it's my personal tax bill or it's this or it's that. There's just always something to be paid, and the more staff you've got, the more expensive it is. So we're trying to do it slightly different with the lettings, I think. Hopefully Willie would agree with me, because I just don't think it's needed. I think it's an ego thing a lot of the time, wanting loads of staff. Because, like, certainly in my business just now with the sourcing and the agency, we've done 200 deals this year so far. So maybe in the year, like 220, 230, something like that. And we don't need anybody else. There's quite a lot of time where me and Robbie are looking at each other opposite the desk thinking, what are we going to do for the next hour until someone comes in, genuinely. So, like, I can understand it, but I think a lot of people, they want an office and they want staff and they want that to seem like they're doing a lot. But
to show you stuff into it.
I've kind of had a bit of a flavour of that, and to be honest, I would rather probably go the other way, unless they're needed, obviously. But
I went and visited the new office you've got. Miller was showing it. I think he was just kitting it out basically, and he was talking about the things he wanted to do with letting business and a lot of automations coming in and everything else. And I think it's that different way of going rather than having hundreds of staff.
I just don't think it's necessary, because a lot of like staff, you'll have like a maintenance manager and you'll have somebody that does the listings and. It's like you could run a letting agency really from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you've got contractors and you've got viewing agents and you've got people on the ground. So you don't need loads of staff and a huge wage bill. And I think, like, if we were to have like a big letting agency that's primarily, you know, virtual assistants and people like that and some AI stuff incorporated, you could probably knock 50% off another letting agency's wage bill. I think it's just as dull profit.
I think the only thing is with sourcing, I think you need to keep it local. Unfortunately, we live in I'm going to go with Scotland here, right? We live in a place that Scottish people like to hear Scottish people.
100%.
And you'll never, ever get away with that, because I've looked at I've VAs and automation, every single bit of it. But that bit, people want to hear your voice. They want to talk 100%. To you.
I think that's the same in most things, but most of the tasks that I'm talking about would be like emails and like what my virtual assistant...
Non-income tasks kind of thing.
And non-customer facing tasks, really. Like, so you're not speaking to people. I would never put them on the phone or anything, but like, I've got a VA in my own business and I've given her a different name to what her actual name is. So when people get an email from her, it just sounds like she's someone parked up in the office.
But like Sheila or something like that, Morag.
Yeah, but in actual fact, she's based in the Philippines, you know, however many thousands of miles away. So it looks good, but it's also costing me, as I said, 300, 400, 500 quid instead of, you know, $3,000 or whatever it costs for a proper full-time member of staff, including everything. So I quite like doing it that way, but you're definitely right in terms of the customer facing stuff. And to be honest, I deal with all the client stuff now, like myself. I like dealing with the clients. A lot of the clients have become my friends. I don't want to pass that buck to someone else because I know the level of service they'll get with me. And that's why people tend to buy quite a few through us, so, which is good because it means we're not always looking for new clients all the time. And also from a management perspective, if we've got 10 properties where a client is speaking to one guy instead of Willie or myself speaking to 10 different clients, you know.
And what is so we were talking about earlier about your building and flips and stuff like that. Is that where you see yourself going? Do you, I mean, are you, I want to earn this much money, I want to have this much property, I want to have this much company, because obviously it's no staff. What is that? What's that?
I think driver? I prefer buying and selling stuff, definitely. Like I mentioned before, that whole light at the end of the tunnel analogy, like it's just, that suits me. And as I say, I'm only 25, so I can only speak for myself at the present time, but I think that suits me better. So I want to try and amass cash, and as I say, I built up a good cash pot from trading for the last sort of 4 years or so, and then I've tied up a bit in rentals, and I bought my own house and this and that. So I'm still okay, but I'm not what I was. So I want to try and build up to that as much as possible. And I know it's a bit sort of wanky to say, but I want to try and get £1 million in cash from trading, and then once I've got that, then I can worry about what I'm going to do with it. If I want to go and buy SAs and stuff personally, but as I said, I'll still be holding stuff in the joint venture company, and like if a really good deal comes along, I might buy it myself personally, but I really want to stick to trading, build up as much cash, and then, as I said, that thing at the start about active and passive, like I'm 25, I want to work all the hours of the day to build up that cash, and then, you know, when I want to take it a bit easier, I've got the money there to go and do whatever I want with it, really.
So $1 million cash, you could buy ASOS for that.
There you go. But
do you just see that kind of period now of just working 14, 15-hour shifts.
But I mean, it's weird, yeah, because like people always like come on podcasts and stuff like that, and they act like they're murdering themselves. Like, I've got a really, really good quality of life. Like sometimes, like I'll work from home and I'll nip off to the gym or I'll play golf or, like, do you know, whatever. The weekends, the good thing about property, the guy that was kind of mentoring me he says like property is a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday business. A lot of other businesses, when you're fulfilling customer orders or you're doing this, you're doing that, it's 24/7. You can't switch off. If you want to try and buy a house at 7 o'clock on a Friday night, you can't. The lawyers are no there. The agents are no there. You actually physically can't. It's the same at the weekend. You can do calling leads or you can do admin and stuff like that. But because I've kind of set myself up where I don't do the admin kind of stuff, a lot of the time I don't have anything to do at the weekend unless I'm going to the odd viewing or doing this or checking in a project or something. But that's what we're really lucky here. It's actually, I think it's quite difficult to work like that with a property business all the time. And some weeks are really busy and some weeks are quieter, you know. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going with it. I just want to work and I just want to build up as much cash as possible. I think I'll be able to get there certainly within the next 5 years, I think. And then, as I say, I'll be 30 or coming up 31 and see what happens for there, you know.
And
but
stay in Scotland, because you were talking about...
Yeah, so I really like it here, to be honest. I think probably where I see myself is like one of these guys that's maybe got like a place in Dubai for the winter. So maybe like November, December, January, you know, we'll go away and then we'll come back and I'll still be able to do most of what I can do from over there. But probably not for the foreseeable, I wouldn't have said, because I definitely wouldn't want to live there full time, and I wouldn't want to live in like Spain or nothing like that. So I think the problem with stuff like that is it all sounds good at the time. But because of my age, if I do that, I'm sacrificing growth here.
Yeah.
So like I could go and have a phenomenal life tomorrow, and I could live in Dubai, and I could try and have a go at it, doing my business in the UK, and I would still make good money, but I wouldn't make as much as if I'm all in, dialed in here all the time. And like a few of my mates and stuff like that, credit to them, I've went away, and they're doing really well over in Dubai or whatever. But I always worry, like when you come back, you don't have anything here.
Yeah,
because people do always come. You used to live over as well, didn't you? So
yeah,
that kind of
exactly
scares me. You come back and you don't have a house, and you don't have the equity that maybe someone that bought a house when they were younger. You don't have any sort of roots here, if you like. So that kind of scares me a bit. And I think if I was to do that, I would enjoy myself and I'd be out all the time at beach clubs and I'd have a phenomenal life, but at the sacrifice of growth. And that to me is probably more important.
Yeah.
At this moment.
So as we're kind of wrapping up, I've got a few quick fire, rapid
Get
fire.
me a drink first.
Oh, aye. What about these?
Oh, that is ginger and turmeric.
Oh, no, it's a shot.
What, shot?
You've done plenty of shots in your time.
Small
Come on.
mouth,
Actually, that one's not too bad.
No, it's got
you
the kick.
slag.
That's going to hurt, isn't it?
It's like when you're sick on a Saturday night at the back of the pub, innit? It's basically like that.
So,
Last
first
question.
time I've worn a white t-shirt and
it's
bloody
always gotta
spell
happen.
it, mate.
How is it possible for you to miss that massive move of yours?
Mate.
Like, what's the question for the last time?
Right, okay.
Sean, did you remember?
I thought you wrote it in, but I've got
Who
these-
was it? It was Gillian.
It was Gillian gave us it, but so rapid kind of don't like huge details on it, but worst deal you ever did and why?
Worst deal I've ever done. Now, me personally or a client one?
You
choose.
So that probably that one that I was talking about where I'm making 180 quid. And you know, every single one that I bought to flip over the last year, if it's off market, I've always got a home report on it because it's somebody else's money and I'm dead worried about it and I want to know what it's worth and I'll ask the surveyor what it's worth, etc, etc. And that one in Gala was acting like the big investor. I fucking don't need any home report, no warranties, I'll just buy it. So it's only 32 grand, right? And I thought it was probably at least 55, I would have said worth. So it was a decent deal on the face of it, and I was going to spend 10 grand, and then I was thinking it'd be worth like 70, and it should have rented for like 550 or whatever. So I bought it for 32. I'd done the refurb, pretty much all done. It came in at 10, and then when they were fixing the floor, they says, "Oh, this is no quite right here. There's a bit of sort of dampness or something." So I got a survey on it, dry rot, right?
Oh.
So I spent, I think it was about another 8 grand on just the dry rot, fixing it and stripping it out in the joists and all that kind of stuff, treating it and all that. 2 new PVC windows, new PVC door, had to get the roof fixed. I think I ended up spending 25 instead of 10.
Christ.
Right? Whereas if I got a home report on it, that would have been
You would have
flagged
known.
up. It would have cost me 300 quid to get a home report. That would have been flagged up. I still probably would have bought it, but I would have tried to get the women to take a bit of a lesser price because obviously the work or got a quote or whatever, right? And then I thought it was going to get valued at 75, I thought, because I'd done all the work to it with the windows and that. It was better. The roof at the front was done. Shepherds came out and said 67. And my lender, the minimum criteria was 75, so it had to say 75 or they wouldn't lend on it. So and the payment was going to be like, let's just say it was going to be 200 quid a month. So I've rented it, already agreed it with a tenant, and I says, look, I'll give you £30 off the rent. So instead it should be 550, I'll give you it for 525, 25 quid off, right? Because I was making 300 quid at that. And I says, look, I'm not, 300 quid's fine, it's got a good deal, all money out. So it was downvalued, so that lender wouldn't take it, right? So I went back to another lender. The interest rate is now 5.5. It was 5.5 to now 6.9. I've already agreed it with the tenant. I'm quite a stand-up guy, so I couldn't have went back and said, oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Right, so I never done that. And then it did get valued at 75, which I was delighted about. So I didn't leave that much in it, but I'm making 180 quid a month off it, and I've left 10 grand in it, and it's a one-bed flat.
What would you do now?
I would get a home report. Every other one that I've bought before and after, I've always got a home report. And I some of the clients' ones we don't, but there was a wee bit of dampness. But I sent a photo to the damp surveyor, and he says, "Oh, that's just condensation." But I didn't send him a photo of the fucking floorboard that was hanging off, right? And then when we stripped the dry rot back, it was all up the front elevation. It was all around the side. It was everywhere. Shit. So I would have got a home report, and that would have solved all my issues, really.
Would you ever have flipped it?
Or as I could have done, I bought it for 32, so I think I was in for 33 and a half, including legals and all that. I could have sold it at auction for 39,999 all day long, so I would have made maybe £6,000 or something instead of keeping it. Now, it will probably go up in value eventually. The rent will sneak up probably eventually, but it took me so much time and effort and cost and cash, and the refinance was a nightmare. It just simply wasn't worth it for 180 quid a month.
But you're not doing anything with it now, so it's just
rent. And it's
so
fine. And then, to be honest with you, when the tenant moved in, there was a bit of damp in the wall, so I had to get that fixed too. Christ. So that was kind of 800 quid or something. So that was like 4 months worth of cash flow. Do you know what I mean? So that's maybe what I would have done different. That was probably my worst deal. Although I've had some shockers for clients as well, so I don't know how much time you've got.
Get you back in for the worst deals. One thing people assume is true about property that you disagree with.
That's a brilliant question, by the way.
I think
ChatGPT.
Got to love ChatGPT, boy.
That is a good one. So what is true? What people think is
people
true. People
assume is true, but you disagree with.
So I think the biggest thing would probably be the money side of it, isn't it? So there's kind of two sides to this argument where some people say that you need loads of money and some people say you don't need any. And I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. You do need money, but it doesn't necessarily have to be your money. I think that's probably the big one, because people think, like my mates and that would probably think, oh, you need to have 50, 60 grand or whatever. And some people, like, educators and whatnot will say you can do it with no money and credit cards and stuff. I don't really know if you can.
We argue about this all the time, don't we? On this, all the time.
I don't know. So I'm just interested. I've that refurb that I was talking about. It goes through on the 12th. I've got the money to do it, but I'm thinking I don't really know if I want to catapult another 25 grand into it. So I've just ever heard of a Walker? So no. I got when my SA business failed, we got on a Walker business loan, and it was like 15% interest or something mad. But they do like quick loans. So I just done a quote last night. It came up on my Instagram stories, like an ad. So I've just done that. So I've asked to borrow 25 grand, which is how much the refurb's going to be. I've just had a notification that I've approved it. So I'm interested to see what the rate's going to be. So if the rate's all right, I might just take it and then pay it back when I sell it, because see what it's like.
Aye. So again, go back to that point. It's not what it's costing you. What's it going to make you?
Exactly.
If you can pay that and interest.
As long as it's decent money. But I don't know. I just think I'm always trying to put no money into stuff if I can. And I'll usually half the profit, which is to my detriment, but it's also no money in. Do you know what I mean? So I would rather make 50,
it's half
20.
of something you would never get.
Exactly.
Because we were talking to, I can't remember who it was, and he says he's got constant credit cards. He just pumps, and he was like, the interest's there, but I'm making money on it more than the interest, so why would I know?
I know what you mean. It's like, it's difficult, isn't it? But then sometimes you can get yourself in a bit of a sticky situation where you've got so much debt. But I think like with the refinance stuff, I wouldn't do it for that. But if I'm flipping it, I know that it will sell for something. If I have to shave 10 grand off home report, I'll still make 30 grand. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of worth it that way. But that's probably the biggest misconception. I think it's the money side of it.
And then last one. I've got two I can ask, but I'll ask this one. So one, I wasn't really doing much now, but like one book, podcast, or habit that's been transformational for you. So you spoke about the Barentine book, but is there anything else?
Loads, mate. So there's two really good audio books that I like, and it's the guy that owns Progressive Property down south. His one, Mark Homer, Low Cost High Life. That's a really good one. Yeah. And then there's another one that was kind of something to do with them for a while. The guy Neville Wright that had a business called Kiddie Care. That's called The Answer Is Yes. Now what is the question? and those 2 books are basically about these guys' lives that have went on to build really successful businesses. And I really like them because I hate these American speakers on audiobooks and that.
Yeah.
These guys are like English speakers and it's dead good, and I know a little bit about them personally. So those are 2 crackers. But yeah, I just don't do much of it anymore, much as I would like.
See if you were going to advertise yourself, off-piste again here, but what do you think people, if they could describe you, what is that?
Do you know, one of my mates says that I can talk my way out of any situation. He just says, I can't even remember what he was talking about, but it's just, I seem to be quite good at getting my point across, and I think I'm good at building relationships with people, probably most importantly. And then some kind of sales element of it as well, which kind of is somewhere in the middle. But I don't know what people describe. I think most people will know me as someone that sources property. But we've bought or agreed to buy 30 this year. So I'm trying to get a wee bit more into the buying, but I like the sourcing because, as I said, it feeds everything else. So I think that's what most people will know me as, is this sourcer from Edinburgh.
Because I can see you doing the circuit and stuff, you know, like a lot of the guys. That's why I was asking about the school.
I've done quite a few of the talks, and it's the same. Like when you're done a full day's worth of work and you turn up and you think, oh my God, I can't be bothered doing this. Then once you start, it's brilliant, and you leave buzzing in that, and everybody says, oh, that was fantastic, and you feel like a celebrity on the stage, and everybody's asking you questions on the break and all that, and it's dead good. But I've taken it, as I said to you, Sean, I've taken a bit of back seat about stuff like that recently, but coming out of the network and stopped going to events and stuff like that, because I just want to focus on myself and my business and what I'm doing. And it's the same with social media. I'm going off a bit of a tangent here, but sometimes I feel like I said, I've done that analysis on ChatGPT about where the deals had came from and buyers had came from. And sometimes I think when I'm posting stuff on social media, particularly Instagram, that's not making me any money. I've not really got many clients or certainly any deals from Instagram. Yeah. So that's just me showing you guys, look at me, look what I've done. Like the weekend, look what I'm doing, look what I've bought, look what I've sold, look what I've done. Like, it's just so wanky. I've used that word twice in this podcast, but after a while, I just think, I don't think anybody actually cares about this. And I don't really care that other people see this. So, like, I've stopped posting as much. I've taken a wee bit of step back. And now it's not done any of my detriment. But I'm really paranoid that if you stop doing things that you were once doing, it will start to slip.
You're going to fall off a cliff.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, because I've seen loads of guys that have came out the blue and they've done really good in property and that. Then they get too big for their boots and they stop doing the viewings. They stop speaking to agents, and then they just fucking fall off the face of the planet. So I'm worried, like, if I stop posting on social media, will I stop a kind of decent name and reputation that I've got for myself? But I don't know.
No, good.
I think I battle with myself about it all the time. But
good. And just as we wrap up, obviously, course, our time and everything. What's people want to reach out to you for? What
about question for the next person?
Well, we forgot the question for the next person, and we never answered it this time. So
I'll happily do one, but I'll answer the first question first. So just Instagram, or this is just laughing about Instagram, but Instagram or LinkedIn is probably the best. We're probably full for clients, but I always like speaking to people and seeing what they've got, because things come out of the woodwork inevitably. And then the question for the next person is a good question actually. So what other people said?
Well, we started it last time with Gillian Green,
and she asked you.
And then you asked the question, and I forgot the question. I forgot the question.
So I'm going to write it down this time. Old school. What question are you going to give to our next guest?
I'm just going to go, this is randomly at the bay, but what did you want to be when you were younger? Because as I said, I wanted to be a footballer, and then I realised that was shite. So it'd be interesting to see what other people thought, like, you know, compared to what they're doing.
I think a lot of the guys will just say, "I football and I was shite," and done something else.
Exactly.
No, I think we should say, but it can't be a football player.
I think that's what most of them can be anyway. So. Good. So you can reach out if you want to be look at potential client in the future, like sell off market,
I just like
on market.
To people a lot of the time. Although sometimes if you're busy in that, I'll get back to people and I seem quite short, and I think people sometimes think I'm a bit of a wanker, but it's usually because I'm like jumping in and out and doing things. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to do it all, isn't it?
That's it. If you're running about so much, that quick response, isn't it? You've been wanky. I'll say it. It's just you. I'm in the rush. There's your answer. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. I've like, as I say, I've got this OCD thing where it's like just constantly trying to get stuff off my desk. So somebody messages me, boom, and that's it. And sometimes I think if somebody has asked me like a big question, I've not answered it properly, they're thinking, he thinks he's way too big for his boots or something like that. But
yes.
Somebody did say something like that. I'll tell you off camera, but that's why I just wanted to clarify that. But thanks for having me on, guys.
That is absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. I'm sure we'll get you on later on in the future as well. But connect with Matt.
Doing this as well.
We'll connect with Matt.
That was great.
Get in the showcast podcast notes. Wow, I cannot speak. But yeah, thank you very much, and on to the next one.
Cheers, guys.